buried all the
25th of July, Rabbi Furst, Parsha Hashavua with Rashi.
Thank you.
Okay, so
Yeah, go ahead.
all right, I'll start Perek 4, 13. Numbers 13, Perek 4. And the Egyptians buried all their firstborn, whom the Eternal had smitten among them. Upon their gods also the Eternal executed judgments. You want 5?
So here we see that there's a special point to mention that this again is all based on Moshe Rabbeinu's recollection of Klal Yisrael of what we experienced when we came out of Mitzrayim as we were traveling those 40 years in the Midbar. Right, so it says here that we traveled and we were leaving Egypt, and while we were leaving Egypt, what were the Egyptians busy doing? They were busy burying their dead. For us, it was a very happy time. And but the Mitzrayim was a very sad time. In a minute. Just want to add a point here. That this was the beginning. This was the how Moshe Rabbeinu. I mean, think about it. This is Moshe Rabbeinu's description of our leaving Mitzrayim, right? He didn't say that we did this or that we did that, but says when we were leaving, they were burying their dead. I think he's doing it. I think we can say that it's a praise to Kadosh Baruch Hu, and we're thankful for what he did for us. I mean, he didn't just take us out of Mitzrayim, but he judged the Egyptians.
Will I read 5?
And they also make a point, the Chazal make a point that when because it mentions not only did the Egyptians be busy with the burying of the dead, but also at Kadosh Baruch Hu in the same pasuk, Hashem took vengeance upon the Egyptians and their gods. So that's a general rule. It's a general rule when Hashem will make a judgment on a certain people, he will judge not only the people, but also their false gods, their avodah as well. Okay. Let's go on to 5.
Okay. Okay. Vayisu b'nei Yisrael Mattos v'yachanu b'Sukkos. And the children of Israel journeyed from Ramses and encamped in Sukkot. 6.
Yes.
V'yisa'u misuko v'yara kainu v'esol Hashem b'ktzor hamidbar. And they journeyed from Sukkot and encamped in Etam, which is the extremity of the desert. 7.
Right.
V'yisu ma'asom v'yosher al pi havirus asher al b'nei v'al tzafon v'yachanu lifnei migdal. And they journeyed from Asam and turned unto Pi Hahiros, which is before Baal Zephon, and they camped before Migdol.
Now, you remember, if you remember what Rashi said in Parshas B'Shalach, I believe it was in Parshas B'Shalach, that this was the one and only, this Baal Zephon, the Avodah Zorah of the north. This was the one and only Avodah Zorah that Hashem left intact in Mitzrayim. And that was to mislead the Egyptians. Right, remember? Remember, I'll try and direct if you want. Let me see, I'll try and direct you to where that is. Because here we're making special mention of Baal Zephon. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That was done intentionally. That they came to Baal Zephon. As I said, that they were intending, Hashem was intending to mislead the Egyptians, to think that their powers of false gods still had any power. And when you look at it, they really misled themselves. Hashem was perhaps, let's look at it from a different perspective. Maybe we can say Hashem was giving them a opportunity to perhaps do tshuva. How could it be? Again, we see here that we came out of Mitzrayim. The Egyptians were busy burying their dead. We came to the Machane by Baal Al-Panei Baal Zephon, and we encamped there. That's where Hashem wanted us to encamp. And that was the one and only Avodah Zorah. That was the one and only idol of the Egyptians which survived. So now, Hashem could be, because again, there's a general rule. Hashem doesn't intend to fool or mislead his creations. Kadosh Baruch Hu loves each and everything that he creates. By definition, that Hashem created it. Take a simple example. A person who puts time and effort, so to speak, into a particular project. So he values that time and effort he put into the project. And it could be that the projects which are more difficult, a person may have more affinity to. Now, all this doesn't really apply to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You can't really talk about effort and energies being expended by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But from our perspective, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu being a creator, we've mentioned this several times before, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is being a creator, so therefore the basic essence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is that he should create and not Has V'Shalom destroy. And here, perhaps Hashem is giving the Egyptians a final chance to do tshuva. The Klal Yisrael is encamped by Baal Tzifon, the one and only remaining idol of Egypt. Now, the Egyptians could have thought about it a different way. Rather than saying, oh, look, our idol is working, right? They could have said, well, all of the idols we've had up until now did not work. So why should we think this one's going to work? Because forget about this whole business. After all, the Egyptians had 10 makas to learn these lessons, right?
Yep.
So if they had taken to heart the lessons of the 10 makas, I think it's very logical to think and to understand Hashem was giving the Egyptians an opportunity. Everything else they've had has failed. And so now they should give it up. And if they did in fact give it up, it's very possible they wouldn't have to be destroyed. But we see that they didn't make the proper decision. Okay, let's continue on.
8. ויסעו מפני החירוס ויעברו בתוך היום המדברו וילכו דרך שלושה ימים במדבר אסון ויאכלו במרור. And they journeyed from before Pi Hahiros and passed through the midst of the sea into the desert, and went 3 days' journey in the desert of Esam, and encamped in Marah, the Marah.
So let's see. So there's a mention to the there's a mention. I mean, there's no real direct mention of us going through the Yam Suf, is there? Trying to see. The mentioning of us going through the Yam Suf is not really directly mentioned, is it, Roy?
No, not by name. They passed through the midst of the sea into the desert, but there's no name. So we assume it's a sea of reed.
Right. ויסו מפני חרס, ויעברו בתוך הים, המדברה. ויעברו בתוך הים. That's one very spurious reference to the Yam Suf. All the miracles that took place there.
Mhm.
Um,
What we're reading now is a sort of like a summary of what
Right.
happened. So if
Yes.
you start saying sort of the Red Sea or the Sea of Reeds, then you probably would want to know a little bit more, or need to put in more, which makes it longer, this account.
Right. But I was just thinking, wouldn't it be a good opportunity to give some praise and thanksgiving to HaKadosh Baruch Hu at this point? You know, another couple of words here or there.
All right, so that was, what am I reading now? Ches Tesh. The Yisuu,
Right.
right. The Yisuu Mimoro, the Yovo Elomo, Uva Elem, Shatim, Asorei, Anis, Miyom, Veshiva Im, Tumorim, V'yahanu, Shom. 9. And they journeyed from Mara and came to Elim, and in Elim were 12 fountains of water and 70 palm trees. 40. No, a score is 20, isn't it? Or 10. And they camped there.
Yeah. So what's that all about? Now we're making some detailed descriptions. This is the first and probably most detailed description yet.
So let's have a look at 9, if I can. Yeah, 59. No, there's nothing. There's nothing. There's no. There's nothing here. No commentary. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Nothing to comment about, right?
I'm sure there's plenty to comment about, but there's none here. There's nothing here.
Right. 1 second.
All right, so now we do 10. The
Right.
Yisuu Ma'alim, the Yachanu Al Yom Tuk. And they journeyed from Elim and encamped by the Red Sea. And that brings us to Shani. Yud Aleph, the Yisrael Miyam Suf, Biam Suf, Biahanu, Bemidava, Sin. And he camped, and they journeyed from the Red Sea and encamped in the desert of Sin. 12. Vayisau Memedava Midbasin, Vayachanu, Vidopa King, Vidopa Kor. And they journeyed out of the desert of Sin and encamped in Dophaka. Yud Gimel.
Okay, go ahead.
Vayisau Vidopa, Vayachanu, Alush. And they journeyed from Dophaka and encamped in Alush. Vayisau Mamalush, Vayachadnu, Virapidim, Valel, Shom, Mayim, Laom, Lishto, and I journeyed from Alush and encamped at Rephidim, where there was no water for the people to drink.
Yeah, 1 minute. Okay.
Yes,
All right. You didn't have any water to drink. Now you know. Well, okay. Read the next pasuk, Roy. What's the next pasuk say?
Marapedim, Yohanu, the Midbar, Sinai. And they journeyed from Rephidim and encamped in the desert of Sinai.
Oh, now you may remember what happened. There was a major event that occurred here between Rephidim and Sinai. Remember what took place then? Amalek came out to do war against us, right? That whole episode is not even mentioned here, right?
True.
Okay, let's continue on. Next pasuk.
The next topic, 15. No. All right. 16. V'yisu mimidva Sinai v'yachanu v'kivarot hatiyavo, and they journeyed from the desert of Sinai and camped at Kivarot Hata'ava. V'yasa'u Mikavaros Hata'ava V'yachanu V'hapsharos. And they journeyed from Kibroth Hata'ava and encamped at Hazeros.
Right. Hold on 1 second. We came to Har Sinai, right? Not a mention of the giving of Matan Torah. Not one word.
Well, we started off this reading with saying that these are the journeys
Right.
of Israel, and that's what we're doing. We're not reading about the events. It didn't say these are the journeys and what happened on the way. We're just saying these are the journeys. This is the itinerary.
Very good. Very good. However, go back to the Rashi. Go back to our original Rashi. That
Rashi.
in Pasuk Aleph, that the end of the Rashi there, it brings the Ritan Chuma, the Mashal Lamelech. Let's look at that again. You see what Rashi mentions there at the end of his comment on Pasuk Aleph?
Pasuk Aleph, 33 Aleph.
Yes.
There are only 42 stages.
You have the Mashal of the king. Remember the Mashal of the king?
Yeah.
Let's reread that.
I can't find it. I can't see it. Oh, here it is. It may be compared with a case of a king whose son was ill and whom he took to a distant place to cure him. So we're the sons of Hashem, and we weren't quite right as far as doing what we should do, I suppose. And so Hashem led us around the desert. And so going back to the Moshe, and when they returned home, the father began to enumerate all the stages.
Yeah, go ahead.
Saying to him, here we slept, and here we caught cold, and here you had a headache, and so on. There's nothing.
No. Don't ignore the so. What's the so on? What does it say in the so on?
What's it say? What?
What did you? Here we sleep. What did the king say to his son?
When I returned home, the father began to enumerate all the stages, all the places, all the encampments, saying to him, here we did this, and there we did that, and so on. Here we slept, here we caught cold, here you had the headache, etc.
That's not happening over here. All the things that occurred are not even mentioned. No one's mentioned anything about what occurred. According to the parable, the king was telling the son about all the things that happened.
Mm-hmm.
That's not here. I don't see it. You see it?
No, all that's here is the actual itinerary. Can't call it anything else, I think.
That's right. It's just the
Like when-
locations, not mentioning anything about the events. All it is the locations, not the events.
Mhm. And it goes on for quite a long time. And there's I'm scanning the rest of it, and just the only event that I can see is they mention is when Aaron died in 39. Is it 39? Yeah, Pasuk 39. It's the only thing that was an event that I can see.
Yeah, that's right. Very good. It mentions the Mitzrayim would burying their dead, right?
Mm-hmm. That,
Uh, So apparently, the parable is not really matching what the Torah is telling us. Again, the whole parable was the king had a son that was sick. So they traveled far and wide to take him to a place he would get well. He went there, got well. And on the way back, the king was explaining to the son, here we slept, here you had a headache. He's telling him all about the events that happened in the locations. But that's not parallel to what is written in the Torah. The Torah is simply telling us the locations, not the events.
okay. I've lost the place of the parable at the moment, but it said before the parable, it says it may be compared to a parable, and then it says what the parable is. So what might be compared to the parable? Why was this parable brought down, in other words? To do what? To
Right.
explain what?
Okay. Yeah, because again, the parable is explaining, it's trying to give us an insight into what the Torah is telling us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the parable is something which can be tailor-made, right? It can be tailor-made to explain exactly what you wanted to illustrate, correct?
Yes.
The parable can be designed to explain exactly what was occurring, right?
Mm-hmm.
But apparently here it's not. On the surface, the parable is not accurate.
Yeah. All
This
right.
parable needs explanation, right? How
There's
can we
another
explain this
parable.
parable? Well, I don't want to get too far.
Well, yeah.
You can you can wind up with the if you get involved with parables, you can get far from the destination. But it could let's maybe think like this. The the Torah is simply telling us the locations, and that's causing us a problem to understand the parable, because the parable is apparently not just speaking about locations, it's also talking about events. So it could be, let me suggest this explanation. It could be that the parable is very exact, very exact. That in terms of the parable, so the king is explaining to the son that in these locations, these events occurred, right?
Yeah.
We have Moshe Rabbeinu that he's explaining to Klal Yisrael only about these locations. But now let's look at the parable from this point of view. The parable, there's a king. And let's say the king, obviously the king is Kadosh Baruch Hu. King is a Kadosh Baruch Hu, that's obvious, right? The son, that's Klal Yisrael. And the king, as the parable explains, is telling not only the locations, but also the events. But in the Torah itself, it only explained the locations, not the events. But don't forget, when we have a Torah Biksav, meaning what we're reading is the Torah Biksav, the written Torah. In the written Torah, we only have the locations, right? But we have a wealth of the oral Torah as well. We have the Torah Baal Peh. That is not written, right? And that's what the parable is saying, that the king is explaining to the son. The king is explaining to the son, meaning the king is not writing this down for the son. The king is explaining to the son, meaning the Torah Baal Peh, the oral Torah, is going to be explaining to us the events, not the locations. The Torah Biksav, the written Torah, tells us the locations. The Torah Baal Peh tells us about the events. So in that way, the parable could be very, very exact.
So why
That's,
not do
just-
both at once? This is the desert of Zin, and you did this here,
Right,
or
right.
something like that. Or this is whatever. And on this site you receive the Torah. Why not do that?
So, Roy, you're asking, well, let's take a reverse perspective. Let's reverse our perspective and say, why can't the Torah itself tell us not only the locations, but also the events?
Mm.
So that could be maybe the very nature of the Torah, both the Torah Biksav and the Torah Baal Peh. The very nature of Torah Baal Peh is that it is the dimension which exists beyond the Torah Biksav. Torah Biksav is like a two-dimensional explanation. The Torah Baal Peh is like the third dimension. So you're asking, why couldn't the Torah here include that third dimension in the second dimension? Why couldn't the third dimension, meaning Torah Baal Peh, be included here in the Torah Biksav?
Um, All right, I'm going to, I'll step right out of what we're saying and suggest that there's something then maybe in the places that we are that is sort of to do with Kabbalah. Maybe the each place has a specific part to play in our development. And through our realization of what's happening. Maybe the gematria has something to do with it. If you add up all the places what you come to.
Right. Right.
I wouldn't be able to do that. It's beyond my capability of adding up. But I'm just suggesting.
Yeah, I think you might. I think you're getting close to the Torah itself doesn't want to reveal everything.
Mm.
I'm just looking to see if anyone see this particular point. Okay, I think yeah, this is the way I would start to try and explain things a little bit. Okay. Maybe I'll come up with some other ideas over Shabbos, maybe. That's what I was thinking, perhaps, to explain it here. But you have the Rashi, just to summarize quickly, you have the Rashi bringing down the parable of the king, and apparently the parable is not really explaining what the Torah is illustrating for us. So it could be that the illustration is very exact, that the illustration is incorporating both the understandings of Torah Shebiksav and Torah Shebal Peh. Okay, so very good, Mitzvah Hashem. If you come up with any ideas other than this, please let me know. I'm always open to new and exciting other ideas besides my own.
Okay,
All right,
great.
thank you. Have a good Shabbat for our first.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
Shabbos and a good
Thank
Chodesh.
you. Thank you, man. Good Chodesh as well. Thank you. Good Chodesh.
Yes.
Chodesh Tov.
Should be out.
Chodesh Tov.
Chodesh.
See you.
You well,
See you.
Lord.
Bye.
See you.
Take
See
care,
you,
Lou.
Lou.
Shalom. Bye.